My 13-year-old son is literally coming home from school going, Dad, my friends think you're an idiot.
I have to leave my school and transfer to a different
school now. I got to go somewhere else. I got to tell people you're not my dad anymore, right? All because of your wide receiver rankings.
My dad's Phil.
Oh, yeah, baby, we're here. We're back. I'm trying to make my kids not like me even more today. I think I started that on Monday with the wide receiver rankings once again. But what's up, everybody? It's Chris Sims Unbuttoned. I'm Chris Sims. Ahmed Fareed is here, as always, going to hold down the fort and drive the ship for me here in a minute. But, yeah, we got a good one today. Tight end rankings, certainly. Going to go over some other receiver rankings and other guys that we didn't get to. Take some questions from the homies. I'm going to defend myself probably a little bit more, which I look forward to, as always, right? So, all good there, but what's up, dude? How are you?
Good to see you once again. Yeah, luckily for you and for your kids, Kyle Williams at number 2. While shocking maybe to some, doesn't raise to the level of their friends calling them out and being like, "What's wrong with your dad?" I would assume. I don't know that for a fact, but I think
that's
assume.
true. Well, the Marvin Harrison Jr. was such a hot button topic last year and such a thing, and so baked into everybody's brain. Again, I think what we talked about, his name, the school he was at, how good receivers have been coming out of that school. It was just baked in, and it's a given. He's the best receiver. Right. And I think that's what's shocking. Even more shocking than me putting a guy at number 2 where a lot of the world thinks he's a mid-rounder right now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to sit here again and defend that and tell you that I just don't, when it gets time to it, there's no way he'll be there in the mid-rounds. I can tell you that.
Now, if you would have had Travis Hunter outside of your top 5,
that would have been news.
Phillip doesn't come home.
You
never see him again.
Right.
He's gone.
Right. Travis Hunter was one of the pleasant surprises, and certainly I think to me is the only receiver, just to make another broad statement, that goes in the top 10, right? I don't think any of these receivers get kicked off until the 20s or so. And in this type of year, and the more I get through the draft too, with some of these other positions where I go, I think there's maybe a few more first-rounders at this position than I thought there was. I think that could kick the can down to some of these receivers where as we said on Monday, not as many high-end, top-end guys, to where it could be a year where you get Deebo Samuel in the second round. You get DK Metcalf or A.J. Brown in the second round. It could get kicked down that way to where a lot of these guys are there to be had at the top in the middle of the second round, and that could be fun to watch on the second round of the draft.
It's tempting to say last year 7 receivers taken in the first round. You're like, well, maybe this is just the new way of the world here. You just take a receiver in the first round, but it was such a historically low defensive draft. Pick number 15? Latu was the first defender taken.
Yes.
So that's not going to happen again.
No,
we know that for sure.
Exactly right. That's not going to happen again. And also the specialness, I think, of some of those receivers that were in the class last year.
Yes.
Of course, my top 2, they were special, let alone some other guys that had special attributes that I didn't think were still top 5 in my wide receiver rankings, but could totally understand Xavier Worthy being drafted in the first round or whatever. Oh, wait, he runs like that? Oh, there's enough visual evidence on film that he runs like that? All of that. So let's get into it. I know we will get into it.
Yes, we will not make you rank the tight ends. We gave you a ranking day off, but you will talk about
I'm going to kind of rank them as I go anyways. I mean, anybody knows me. I can't help but do that. That's what I do. That's what I've made my name for. It's in
your nature.
It is in my nature. I'm not even going to joke you. It was my nature before I ever even got into this business. It was in my nature.
Yeah.
Anybody that ever played with me in the NFL will tell you I would walk into the locker room in the morning and stir up shit with everybody about a hot button topic in sports and go, no, I think this guy's 1, this guy's 2, and get everybody going.
On your own team.
On my own team, and get everybody going. It might not even be about football. It might just 10 minutes, the start of the basketball season, right?
Yeah.
And I just come in and say, hey, this he's one of the 3 best players in the NBA this year, blah, 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 and just watch the locker room go. That's what I'm kind of good at, so we're going to do that again here.
And a media star was born there afterwards. We do have some comments from the homies. We'll get reactions to the wide receivers.
Yeah.
We also have some of the comments from YouTube, so let's get into those.
Brandon Stokley called me the shit starter. That's what he would call me, right? The great slot receiver for Peyton Manning all those years.
Yeah.
He would call me the shit starter because he knew I was going to walk in the locker room and start some shit about a broad topic about football, basketball, baseball, whatever, and it was going to get everybody hot and heated in the locker room.
But the cool thing about that is you'll be part of the crap then, too. You don't just leave the room. You don't just get it started and then leave.
definitely.
You still
insert, I yell something out, tell them how stupid they are, and then go back to talking to somebody else for a minute.
All right. Dare Potato says, I appreciate that Sims doesn't just follow the consensus and will rank based on what he feels, even if he knows he'll take flack for it. Keep up the good work, Chris. So you got a lot of supporters out there.
I appreciate that.
On our
and
YouTube
that is
channel.
true. I got to go with my feel. I'm not going to always listen to everybody else. And two, at some point, you got to have a little confidence in your experience, in what I've experienced. Like I told you, the great players I played with in the NFL, college, the players I was around with my dad's career, even post-career when I was in coaching a little bit, and just still that, this is a position that I do feel like I have a decent track record, which you alluded to on Monday a little bit, and I do feel confident in my overall feel with these guys.
I feel like you have an edge, and which is what gambling is taking over everything. Every gambler is like, where's your edge? You have an edge, and you feel like you have one there. User EM says that Chris doesn't get enough credit for predicting Okudah would be a bust. That was your most liked comment on the YouTube page last time, 194. And I'm like, man, Jeff Okudah was like, how did I get dragged into this?
Seriously. He's like, what the hell, right? But yes, there was things about him. And again, I think it fit into the mold of some of the things we talked about. Good player, got that. We liked him at the time. I said that, but I was number 3 pick.
Yeah.
I don't know about all of that. And again, I think that's where, again, the school, where it's ranked, the amount of players that come out of there and all that kind of feeds into it. And I hope that's where people can trust me and to know that I'm going to be able to look through some of that stuff and not be influenced by it. Mm-hmm. And corner would be another position. I threw a lot of interceptions, so I know what the good corners look like.
And to your credit, as well as someone who grew up in Michigan, rooted for the Michigan Wolverines, you have never liked a Buckeyes prospect. So you have stuck true to that piece of it.
I did like C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, more than
People
anybody.
Forget about that one.
They kind of forget about that one, huh?
Kyer 414, the draft where he put Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb over Judy is what really made him legit for wide receiver rankings. I remember that was seen as an insane move at the time, but it's turned out to be 100% correct.
Thank you.
Jerry. There was a lot of Jerry Judy love.
Well, it's funny that this is coming up and feeding into the narrative we kind of talked about on Monday, but it's the same type of thing. Hey, Alabama's so good. All these receivers keep coming out of here.
Yeah.
Look at their quarterback and the other guys, and we watch them every week on Saturday, SEC on CBS. It's a highlight show. He's got to be awesome, right? I think it just feeds into that too. And again, that's where it was a little overhyped, and not to say that he's a bad player. He's a good player, but not where everybody had him ranked. And certainly, CeeDee Lamb and definitely Justin Jefferson's better than him.
Real 1687, Chris dunking on these mofos is hilarious. I would literally love to hear these more often.
I can't dunk in real life anymore, so I got to dunk here with my mouthpiece.
And you know what it is, says, I love Kyle Williams at Washington State. Extremely shocked that Sims even mentioned him, though he was going to be a gem in the later rounds. Thought he was going to be a gem in the later rounds. At number 2 is crazy, but I really like it. Kudos to Sims for being true to himself.
Well, I appreciate that. I do. And again, what I think about too is 4.4 flat, 155, 1,000-yard receiver. What was it? 16, 17 yards per catch. It ain't that crazy. Again, I think people are getting influenced by school ranking, emblem on the helmet,
competition
exactly,
level.
Competition certainly too, right? I understand all of that. I get it. So there's all of that plays into this. But I think that if we sat and watched film together and sat there, I'd go, hey, look at this guy, and he's cool, shiny, went to this cool school and looks awesome, and that's a cool emblem. But, man, let's watch him run this play, and let's watch him run this play. Because some of those cool schools I know the competition thing, they still had games against not good competition, and I still don't see the plays that I saw with the other guy, right? That's where I would argue. Like, I know Matthew Golden is looked at as maybe a first-round receiver and one of the top receivers. Texas had some throwaway games. He didn't go for 50 and 60 and 80 in those games. Why not? In fact, 4.29, the 54 yard is the longest completion of the year, right? That doesn't talk 4.29 to me. Guys that run 4.2 usually have touchdowns that are longer than 50 yards and all that. I'm not trying to hate on Matthew Golden. I'm just giving some for instances and how I dig through things sometimes as well. But the competition thing and then I think, maybe the shiny emblem on the helmet is certainly a thing that influences people at times.
And we'll see. You're ahead on these. You're one of the first people to rank quarterbacks. You're one of the first people to rank in the general kind of
the general.
It keeps getting earlier and earlier now, though.
It does.
You're almost falling behind
here. Well, you're right. I mean, we're at the point now where I feel like at this this point, like from a lot of the draft pundits, you would have saw like one mock draft now.
Right.
Now they're already on like the fourth one. And you're like, damn, I mean, holy crap.
I know in my feed all the time, it's like Lions first 7 rounds predicted to be like this. I'm like, man, how many of these are we going to do?
Hey, and just with Kyle Williams,
yeah,
I got some texts from people in the NFL that told me they like Kyle Williams a lot.
Boy.
You know?
And they're mad at you for exposing
they
him.
They didn't tell me other things either, but they were, yo, I see Kyle Williams. I'm with you. He's got special traits, blah, blah, blah. So we'll see where this goes. Either I'm going to look like a real big idiot, which I could do at times, or I might look smart.
And when they text you and say, yo, do they do that because they know that's how you talk?
They know how, yeah, they do. Yeah. See, I mean, you know me. Every text I almost start with is yo, 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 right?
Yeah. They're just speaking the same language here.
Yo, mofo.
You're hoping to get one of these guys early or find a gem in the later rounds, like one day, in the past, Russell Wilson was a gem in the later rounds and has had a great career. I don't know if he still has it in him, but the Giants are going to find out. So before we get into your tight end breakdowns, before we get into some of the homies, more questions on your wide receiver ranks, let's talk about your New York Football Giants agreeing to terms with a quarterback in Russell Wilson. We thought they already had a quarterback in Jameis Winston. Now they have Wilson.
Right.
They got 2 guys.
The odd couple here.
They got the odd couple. What do you make of it?
Yeah, and again, I didn't think Jameis Winston was the end-all, be-all, right? You got to put yourself in their shoes. With the guy that is literally goes on a press conference and says, deliver me from pick sixes, is not the guy you want to entrust totally to the organization. He excites me.
It depends on what your goal is.
And I'm not going to lie. I was more excited when we signed Jameis Winston than when we signed Russell Wilson. I'm not. But I understand the signing. Again, what I said to Florio this morning, cover your own ass, CYA, insurance policies, that's what they got to worry about. And also, it does take the pressure off the quarterback situation to now let them kind of do whatever they want and wherever they want. And within that, go, okay, so what if we drafted a quarterback too? We're not paying Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston that much. No. And when you even add up all 4 of our quarterbacks combined, it's still not going to be $40 million, right? Which is below market price for good quarterbacks in the NFL.
Just Wilson and Winston are about Daniel Jones, what he got. Isn't it?
It's below 20, basically. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be actually, it looks like below 15. I mean, that's what it really looks like it's going to be between those two. And then you add Tommy DeVito. So if you draft a quarterback, certainly, right? But with Russell Wilson, I get it from the standpoint of, yes, if I'm Joe Shane or Brian Daboll too, because they're going to go, wait, we like Jameis Winston, we do, but I don't know if I totally trust him that he can be the guy all year long and play a clean brand of football and do what he did that 1 year with Sean Payton where he took care of the football before he got hurt, right? That was the 1 year he really took care of the football. So I think within that, they go, this is literally like the opposite guy, the guy who's a little too conservative, who doesn't always throw the ball into aggressive, tight windows. In fact, takes too long sometimes to pick those moments to start to be aggressive, right? I had this conversation, too, with Florio today. That's one of the things that, I mean, Russell Wilson's still got a pretty good arm, but we know he doesn't move and run as well as he used to at all, so he's not going to be able to do that. But things we've broken down on the pod, his inability to throw the ball down the middle of the field, his unwillingness to throw the ball down the middle of the field. And when you really break them down, if you just stop those fade routes and those back shoulders and stuff like that, that's where the majority of his football throws go. And 2, I think he plays a game a little bit conservative, politician-y that you could get away with if the Steelers are playing good defense or the Legion of Boom is playing good defense. But what happened when the Steelers' defense started to fall a little bit apart at the end of the year? Oh, they went on a 6-game losing streak because it's like, oh, I'm just going to check it down and, hey, I'm just going to make sure we stay in the game and do that, and I won't really push the envelope until I have to. Against really good football teams, it's hard to live that way unless your defense is incredible, right? And then you look up and go, damn, we're down 14. And I go, well, yeah, you had a few opportunities in the game to be aggressive and move the ball early on, but you kind of went with, oh, it's early in the game, I don't want to take the chance, right? So those are the reasons I don't get necessarily excited, let alone there's a reason he's on his 3rd team in 3 years,
sure,
all right? And then let alone, as I told you on the pod a little bit, I heard from people up there and was saying this at the end of the season that he was falling on deaf ears as a leader, right? That he's not exactly one of the guys in the locker room, as we all know. I don't think I'm breaking news that way. So as a Giants fan, like, I understand it, but excuse me if I'm not like, yeah, we got Russell Wilson, here we go. That's where I'm a little torn.
I would be if I was to inject some optimism as a Lions fan who's got life better right now.
Yeah, you do.
Just to rub that in a little bit more.
Thank you.
I would think that Brian Daboll could get the best out of Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston.
Maybe. I would hope so, too. I would hope that he could get Jameis to be a hair more conservative, and hopefully he can get Russell to be a little bit more aggressive.
Knowing that his job depends on it, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Even more sense of urgency.
Well, I think that's why you have to take that chance, too, because you have to go, wait, this could go either way. Even with Russell Wilson, we could start out, he starts and we go 2-4, and it's just like, damn, he's just not making some of these throws. He's playing too conservative. We got people open in the middle of the field. He can't see him or doesn't want to throw him. Let's go with Jameis Winston because there's plays there to be had, and I'll know he'll throw it. But on the other end of the spectrum, if you start Jameis Winston, too, and he's throwing interceptions all over the place, and you're going, damn, our defense is pretty good. We need to play a little more conservative brand of football. Hey, Russell Wilson's the perfect guy for that. I get that. And then, of course, there is the quarterback conversation, which is the biggest thing in the draft quarterback conversation.
Yeah.
And I will say that I do think this takes them out of picking a quarterback at 3. I will. I don't know that, but my spidey senses, my instincts of being around football, my instincts of knowing the Giants don't seem like the type of team that's like, hey, let's get Jameis, let's get Russell, and let's pick Shedeur at 3 and make a total disaster of our offseason drama here. So every day, all we can talk about as a football team is the quarterback situation and the New York media and the New York Post. And like that doesn't seem like a Giants move, in my opinion. I could be wrong, and I don't know that. Right?
And to recap for those who didn't listen to your quarterback rankings, you think 3 would be too high for Shedeur Sanders anyway.
I do.
For any team.
Exactly right. I like Shedeur Sanders, right? And I don't like the fact that I hear people say, oh, yeah, you don't think he's a first-round pick, right? I do think he's a first-round pick, and he's better than first-round picks of past for sure that I can name, right? But he's one of those guys where, you know, like a Daniel Jones maybe at 6, where I went, wait, I see Daniel Jones, but 6?
Yeah.
I don't see that. Like I have told you, you know, the top 5, top 6, top 7 quarterbacks, I look at those guys to be like, wow, there's some really special things about that player that I haven't seen. Shedeur has a lot of good, but I think one of his knocks would be what is that one special thing he has, right? And I think that's probably one of the big things about him as far as talking points in his game.
At top 5, top 6, top 7, you can get an Abdul Carter or a Travis Hunter.
Get
guys who are like, wow, he really is a game changer.
Franchise offensive lineman.
Or maybe a Tyler Warren like we'll talk about here in a little bit.
So
you
can do things like that you got to figure out, you know, how you want to formulate your plan and for whatever else. But yeah, ultimately with Shedeur, like I told you, I like him, but I would want to take him, you know, down the line just a little bit. That's at least my feeling there.
What do you make real quick on Stefon Diggs going to the Patriots? They gave him a whole lot of money. They got a lot of money to spend, and they have spent it.
They have spent it. The contract, like we'll see about that contract. I think there's a lot of fluff there. $26 million guaranteed for a guy that's a number 2 coming off his ACL. I don't think he's getting 3 years, $69 million totally, just as it's written there, $23 million a year. To me, that looks more like a 1 year, $26 million deal.
Still a lot.
Or it is still a lot. Or really kind of a 2-year. We've guaranteed you 26, and in year 2 you'll get another, you know, 12 or 13, and now it'll be like a 2-year, you know, $38 million deal where it's 19, 18 a year, something like that. I would envision that's what we're going to see when the details come out. But let me say this on top of that. I love this signing for both sides. Right? I talked about this a little last week when we heard Stefon Diggs linked to the New England Patriots. Diggs is the perfect fit for the Josh McDaniels offense, especially as where he is in his career right now, Ahmed, because we've talked so much, whether he was up in Buffalo or even last year at the start of Houston. He's not a number 1 anymore. He's an awesome number 2. He's an awesome route runner. And I think that's why Houston and Nick Caserio liked him. Caserio is really good friends with Josh McDaniels. They have the same eye when it comes to that type of stuff, where I'm sure that's why they signed him. And McDaniels is looking at it and going, and let me just say Josh's little brother, Ben McDaniels, coaches in Houston too, right? So I'm sure he got verification off of that. But Diggs has a skill set that's like an Edelman, like a Wes Welker right now. He's amazing at all the underneath intricate route running type routes, option routes, run the slant route, retrace your steps, come back out, right? These little short area double move-ish type of routes, right? He is phenomenal that way. So I think for the team itself, and they're going to get more receivers, I think, in the draft here. They're not done. This is the perfect guy to fill the Josh McDaniels slot option route, Wes Welker type of role. He's going to do all of that and be perfect at that. for him himself, Stefon Diggs, this is a great place to go where if you're healthy and you pick up this offense, you're going to get 80-plus catches at that role in this offense and put up some yards to where maybe you can get another payday or whatever else, right? You're setting yourself up for success, or maybe see the totality of this contract that's maybe backloaded, right? So those are the good things I think there for sure. Drake may need some help. And New England now, I don't envision them. I'll be interested. I don't think they'd go. I don't feel like they'd go to Travis Hunter at 4. I don't feel like they would. I could be wrong there, but I can certainly see them being in the wide receiver conversation, as we talked about a minute ago, at the top of the second round, where I think there's going to be a lot of good ones there to be had.
They got Diggs. They got Mac Hollins as well, who should help at least a little bit for Drake May in year number 2.
Demario Douglas, Kayshon Boutte, who's a pretty good player, right? They got guys that are kind of coming up the ranks. But Diggs is the only solidified pro that you can depend on, and I think that's the positive thing there.
Yeah, they took Jalen Polk from Washington last year in the second round. We'll see about that one, but definitely spent their money. Robert Kraft is not shy about they're trying.
They're coming back.
They are trying.
They're scaring me. I know that. As a New Yorker who's sick of Boston sports dominating the scene, okay?
And a boss who's a Patriots fan, too.
I know.
Like that
I'm like, damn, are the Patriots already better than the Giants already? Did they pass us up already? I mean, damn it.
It's going to be a scary year for any Giants fan in this building, that's for sure. All right, let's get to it.
Yeah.
Your tight end breakdown. So we got 2 players who are talked about as being first-round talents. One in the top 10. Possibly, and one somewhere else in the first round.
I think that's fair.
That's the way you see it as well.
I think it is how I see it as well. I think there is, and yes, I think that the first guy we're going to talk about is pretty damn special.
So the guy in the first round is the Michigan tight end Colston Loveland. So we'll get to him, and there are some people that are very high on him and don't think he's that far behind Tyler Warren from Penn State. But let's start with Warren because he's been the face. He was the face of that football team. He did so much for him.
Yes.
And, it's a big-time program.
They messed up by not pushing him for the Heisman early on in the process.
Sure.
They really did. I mean, he should have been talked about more highly in that conversation. It's like they kind of realized it like week 9 of college football. They were like, hey, wait, the Heisman list isn't that impressive, and we got a guy that's a freak show every week. Why don't we start pushing him? And they got a little late on that in Penn State.
6'5.5", 255 pounds, turns 23 in May. That's Tyler Warren from Penn State. You dug into the film, deep dive. People think he's going to be a top 10 pick. What'd you see?
He's definitely a top 15, right? Top 10, I certainly can see it. Got a great body. He's just a naturally big, strong tight end, right? A little narrow in the hips that I wrote, but overall, I love his body, right? And got like the thickness in the upper thigh and stuff that I like, right? That's where I'm always a looking of a body of that kind of player that power and breaking tackles are very important, right? His run blocking at its best can be impressive. As a whole, he's not a dominant run blocker. He's kind of a little bit of a position guy. But I think he's a guy that has definitely untapped potential in this area because he's physical and he ain't afraid to hit and throw his head into you every now and then and try to really drive you off. So you do see elements of that, right? But as a whole, I think as you watch the tape, you go, I wish maybe he attacked that area a little bit more, right? But he had a lot of other areas he was attacking for that offense, certainly, right? His technique needs a little work in the blocking, but like I said, damn, he's good, and he does show the ability to be extremely physical and lower the boom, which I like. All right. The other thing is the hands are phenomenal. I mean, they're phenomenal. I mean, you saw the circus highlight reel catches. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he catches all the easy meat and potato catches too, but he's capable of making catches that I would say you don't really see tight ends make very often. Contorting their body, jumping in the air as they're reaching for a misplaced back shoulder ball, and he can jump up and catch it as he's falling to the ground and drag a foot. Or mossing somebody in the USC game, right, that we all saw, where he literally jumps over the guy and, like, it's in the other guy's waist, but he just takes it out of his hands and does that. It's rare ability in that department. That's where he's special, okay? And then it becomes more special. Now, let me throw in this little caveat. He's not the greatest route runner. He does a little bit more just with his athletic ability and his feel for football. I'm not like, when he has to run a 10-yard in cut, I'm not like, oh, wow, look at how loose his hips are, and he can really plant his foot in the ground and kind of shift his body and then turn real sharply and do that. There's going to be other guys we're going to talk about that are a little better at that type of stuff, right? But it doesn't mean he doesn't still separate. He kind of just does it a little different way. He's a little bit more like, instead of just being so sharp at 10, he kind of just like, hey, he runs really hard at the guy, and he kind of just gives a little lean, and then he just goes, wait, I'm athletic. I'm just going to turn this way real fast and go. It's not like, oh, wow, look how sharp he made that cut. But because he's a good athlete and he's got some suddenness to him, right? All he needs to do a little sometimes is just give a little lean and then run the other way, and you're not going to catch me, right? Or give a little push with the arm,
right,
and you're not going to catch me. So that's how he gets open. He gets open a little bit more with natural feel and pure athletic ability, okay? So that's the one thing I think you could say negative. And go ahead.
Daniel Jeremiah points out something similar on NFL.com. He doesn't generate a lot of separation as a route runner, but he walls off defenders when on the move. Defenders simply can't get through his body to make enough plays.
He can do that for sure. Exactly right. And then I think the other thing he's good at, right, is the great natural hands. So yes, even if you're on him, he sticks his hands out and he's so big, people are like little kids like trying to fight around him to get the ball, but knows how to change speeds. And we've talked about this with receivers, right? As far as kind of coming off the line, and hell, he's just in a good stride, and you kind of get the DB or the defender to relax a little bit. Like, okay, wait, he's not coming at me that hard. And then all of a sudden he hits it really hard and goes somewhere other direction, right? And then it's like, oh gosh, wait, hold on, I got to turn on my motor here all of a sudden. So he kind of does it with that. And then, of course, within zones or anything like that, he's got a great feel of, hey, I'm running through the zone. I'm running pretty fast. Wait, I better slow down a little bit or I'm going to run out of the hole here and let me be friendly to my quarterback. So that's all that. But that's all before he gets the ball in his hands. Because the magic happens when the gets the ball in his hands. Yeah, that's when it happens. And that's where he is a top 10 pick and a special football player. Whether he can run away from you, if you're not fast enough and not a DB that runs 4.3 or 4.4.
But he chooses to run through you, it seems like, more times than not.
Exactly. He wants to run you over. And he has an unbelievable ability to get his shoulders low and kind of dig smaller people out to where they don't get underneath his pads. And then he's got incredible contact balance for a guy that's almost 6'6". Like, it's rare to see that you can bend over and do that. Or he just runs so hard, the guys come and try to hit him on the side, and he just goes, you're going to bounce off me. Like, I'm not even going to do anything. I'm just going to run so hard and so aggressively that you're just not going to hit me enough to knock me down. It's not going to be hard enough. And that's where it's freaking awesome. Not going to break your ankles, right? It's not going to be, he shook me.
Right.
But he can slash and weave without breaking speeds, right? You can picture plays. He catches the ball. He kind of turns it up. Oh, there's a safety. He kind of goes to the left. Oh, now I got to cut back this way. He kind of cuts that way. He kind of just makes it happen, weaving through traffic that way. He's just a great athlete that way, and that's why he is a top player in this NFL draft.
I want to ask you about the comparison to Brock Bowers here in a second, but we have some video that illustrates what a great athlete he is because he played quarterback, right? We saw him throw the ball for Penn State. He did it all on the football field. In fact, he also played basketball. He played baseball, along with being a starting quarterback.
This is
here
insane.
It is. Oh, throwing down a dunk easy.
Wait till you see this. Wait till you see these plays. I mean
they're just alley-oops in high school.
This is a big individual. This is
not the basketball.
This is not some skinny basketball player, who's 6'5.5", 175 pounds. This is a guy with legs, an ass, and a thigh. Even here in these high school things, I bet you he's 230
Holy
pounds.
Mackerel.
Right, you could see. It's legit athletic explosion.
Oh, here he is as a baseball player.
There he is.
On ESPN playing in the Little League World Series.
A long drink of water.
I don't know about the swing, but he's definitely got some power.
Well, he's got power and length
right
here.
He's throwing. Oh, my gosh. The lefty on the mound.
Look at that, man. That's incredible.
He could have played either one.
Wears 44 because of John Riggins in football.
His dad loved him. It was physical.
Yep, and he kind of plays like that with the ball in his hands.
Dang.
And I think a little bit of in what we just saw there, that's why he's not the most detailed, gifted route runner. I think he will be. It's just like, it's a little bit like we talk, like when you don't have to and you just keep getting open, who the cares?
Right.
Nobody cares.
Multi-sport athlete too, not necessarily focusing on every nuance of the football position, the tight end position. So let me ask you about that. So Brock Bowers had the best tight end season we have ever seen, right, as a pass catcher.
Right.
And coming out of Georgia, I think a lot of people said, like, he is a slot receiver in a tight end's body.
That's
now, he is a little bit shorter than Tyler Warren by like an inch and a half. And he's about 25 pounds lighter, Brock Bowers is, than Tyler Warren. So that would indicate to me like a little bit more of a shifty, kind of like more receiver-ish tight end.
You're saying it right.
Is that right?
You're saying it right. He's like big slot receiver who can get in the way of some big people to help out in the run game. Brock Bowers is who we're talking about, right? He's that. But, like, you're not going to, like, make a living of going, hey, we're going to run 96 power king, and Brock Bowers is going to have his hand in the ground, and he's going to take on Michael Parsons at DN and move him out of the way every play, right?
Can Tyler Warren do that, though?
Tyler Warren can do that. Wow. Definitely better than Brock Bowers. Yes, I would trust Tyler Warren there. And Tyler Warren, too, I think is another one of these where I think his high-end potential blocking is almost like the route running. He's got to get in the NFL camp, and once they teach him a few things and they go, hey, you can't just position block here in this league. This guy will run you over if you just kind of get in his way, right? I think he's got a greater degree of talent. He's just a bigger physical man, like you explained. Let alone, like you just said, he likes hitting people. There is plays as you go through the film and start to look at it where you go, he liked smashing that guy right there on the 96 power king run. Like, he liked it. You could tell it. Now, he gets the next play, he's playing quarterback, and then he's playing slot receiver, and then he's playing single side receiver, so he does it all there, right? But he's got better physicality than Brock Bowers. He's not as good a route runner as Brock Bowers, but he's better than Brock Bowers with the ball in his hand, right? So all of that.
Interesting.
Yes. Brock Bowers, I think, is going to have more catches than him on a lot of years. That's going to, because of what he does in that role.
To get open.
Tyler Warren, I think, will have more big plays at the tight end position. Wow. More yards per catch, right? But I don't think it's going to be like Brock Bowers 105 receptions. He's going to be more of a guy that's like, hey, he caught 70 and he had 1,000, right? And made a lot of big plays that said, wow.
Well, Tyler Warren had 1,200 yards receiving last year at Penn State, 6th in college football. It was a school record for the Nittany Lions. That's a school with a lot of tradition, and he won the John Mackey Award for the nation's top tight end. And if you take a look, it's like a who's who of the Mackey Award winners. Brock Bowers won it 2 years in a row right before Tyler Warren, but then you got Kyle Pitts, you got TJ Hawkinson, Mark Andrews, Jake Butt, who had a great college career, got hurt at the end of it. Trey McBride, who's come on the scene here lately.
Butt, right? So
this is almost like a precursor to you're going to dominate in the NFL.
It is. It's a position where usually the top guy in college is one of the top guys coming out. It's pretty plain and simple to see this position when you are special. He is special. The hands are unreal. The in-air adjustments are unreal. He's trying to go to the house every time he touches it. That's what I loved about him more than anything, right? He is a playmaker, and there's a few things he needs to work on, but to me, those are coachable type of things where the rest of the stuff is not coachable, and that's why, I think for sure a top 15 pick.
One AFC scouting director said, when you ask about different prospects in the building, Penn State spends about 2 sentences on Warren because not much needs to be said. Elite player, elite character, who himself, James Franklin told us, said maybe 15 words in the 5 years he was at Penn State.
I can believe, you can tell. He's old school. I got to interview him at the Super Bowl. He's definitely quiet, just wants to play some ball, do that, right? But again, it's what you glean, I think, a little bit with the ball in his hands, too. That will also tell me I think he can be a better route runner because he can make some really sharp cuts with the ball in his hands. And he does that, and that always tells me that that ability's there when the ball's not in your hands. And it's just going to be a little bit of attention to that. But, man, I know, Jets at 7 are certainly a team you think about maybe. I know the Colts at 14. There was a ton of talk about the Colts even when I was at the Combine. They need a tight end, and people were asking me about Tyler Warren when I was there in their local media all the time. Those are certainly 2 teams, and there's probably some other teams that are going to be in the mix there for him as well.
So clearly for you, the number 2 receiving weapon who's available in the draft this year behind Travis Hunter.
Exactly right. You're going to get incredible receiving stats and a playmaker in the pass game and a guy that can that I think will make your power run game better too when it gets down to it in the NFL.
The way you're talking about him is the way a lot of people were talking about Colston Loveland out of Michigan a couple of years ago. He was going to be the next guy, the next big tight end, the Mackey Award winner. Some injuries for him slowed him down. He's a big guy. He's 6'6". He's 250. He's younger. He's just 20 years old.
Yep. Okay.
Out of Idaho.
Big square shoulders. He's got a squarer frame than Tyler Warren. I'm meeting them in person, right? He's definitely a little bit more that way. Maybe not quite as thick, but man, big, broad shoulders, long arms, a little different look, but still really awesome, impressive look.
So he is mocked in mock drafts around mid 14. That's Colts or Chargers at 22. Jim Harbaugh is going to take his guy if he has the opportunity there. How close is he talent-wise to Tyler Warren?
I don't think he's like Tyler Warren for sure is a top 15. I think Colston Loveland I would look at and go, yeah, it's something after that. In my heart of hearts, and I wrote from 10 to 25.
Okay.
Right? I maybe should have wrote 15 to 25. I think that's where I think it ends up being. Let's start here. Just give him his banner statement. Nobody in this draft blocks like Colston Loveland.
So he's the guy.
What?
Your power run game.
Colston Loveland is a legit, unbelievable, high-level run-blocking NFL tight end right now. He was the only guy, and I didn't watch this whole group yet. I only watched like the top 7 or 8 guys, all right? So just to be totally transparent here. But he's the only guy out of that group where day in, day out, play in, play out, his run game, attention to detail, blocking, they ran plays behind him because they knew it was an advantage to have him over there, all of that. He's the only guy out of the tight end position I could say that was really something that just popped off the screen. Everybody else, like I said, is a little bit more of, hey, there's a good play here and there, but the rest is just, I got in his way and my guy didn't make the tackle. Colston Loveland was like, no. I collapsed the defensive end and he took out the defensive tackle and I stand over them and tell them, eat it, right? Like he had a little bit of attitude. Like you could tell he really enjoys that. And that's just the run blocking because the pass stuff is really damn good too.
Okay.
All right. I don't know if you wanted to follow up with that, but I'm just going to throw it there.
Well,
I stopped for a second.
Now I'm
just
intrigued.
To let you.
Now I'm intrigued because if Tyler Warren and you talked about Brock Bowers was more of a slot receiver playing tight end, still can do the tight end stuff.
Yes.
Like where does Colston Loveland's pass catching ability fit into that?
Okay. All right.
Circle.
So he's really impressive. And like I said, the body's impressive. And I would think that he really weighs more than 248 pounds. The fact that he can't lift weights because he's had this shoulder stuff, I would guarantee that's taken 5, 6, 7 pounds away from him at the combine. Not being able to do any chest, arms, right? Any shoulder work. There's a lot of weight to be carried in those areas that you miss out on, right? But one of the first things I wrote here is, and two, to echo your sentiments, because I got to start this because I wrote this. When I went up to Michigan 2 years ago, that's all they could freaking talk about, right? The year they won the national championship, their coaches were literally like, hey, we know Brock Bowers is the top tight end in football. We know that. But we think we have a guy here that is in the conversation with him. And he is. He's special. He's a first-round tight end. There's no doubt about that. You don't have to watch much film to realize he is legit. Like, really good natural pass catcher. Has incredible releases. Like, releases off the line of scrimmage, whether he's in a three-point stance or as a receiver, right? Does it like a receiver. He's that special in how he does that. Now, it's not explosive receiver speed, but the movements and how he does it and the techniques are all receiver-like. What he does at the top of his routes, right? He's really good at that. Does all the right stuff there, has really good ability to chop the feet and break on a dime, drops his weight, and like for a huge guy, again, it's not like he has to break down and it's like, whoa, he took 7 steps to turn the locomotive over there to catch the football. He can kind of be like, boom, chop him, and turn really quick and be impressive with a sharp break off of putting his foot in the ground, right? So that is the thing you notice right away. Like one of the first things I noticed watching one of the games early on in the year, it might have been the Texas game. I mean, they split him out and they were just like, work. Just you on him one-on-one and we'll throw you the ball. And he does it. And he can do it, of course, with the good route running, with the good change of direction ability, like I said, sticking his foot in the ground. And then also, like a Tyler Warren, the big body and the frame and the ability to extend the arms, like even when he's covered, he's not covered. So all of that is really good. And then when he gets the ball in his hands It's not Tyler Warren, but it's good. Like, it's make people miss. It's aggressive going upfield looking for yards. It's not like, oh, good, I just caught the ball. Now let me just make sure I kind of just let me cover the ball and go into contact. No, he gets the ball in his hand and wants to do something with it. And I love that aspect about him too. He is a really freaking good player. Starter day one, definite top 25 pick in the draft, I think.
Still young and still room to grow. Just 20 years old, as I mentioned, just spent 3 seasons at Michigan, yet still has the school record for career receptions by a tight end. That's a school that's churned out some pretty good tight ends and used them a lot throughout the years. So I think that you are going to be a little bit higher on him as a blocker because you were just very effusive in your praise of him as a blocker.
Yeah.
You read some of the other scouting reports out there, they're not quite as effusive as you.
That's crazy.
Even Lance Zierlein of NFL.com, who looks at all these guys, respect what he does. He's been doing this for a long time. He goes, he will keep filling out his frame, but is unlikely to ever become more than an average as a blocker.
Oh, I don't see that.
What are they seeing, do you think?
I really
don't know.
How are they
interpreting
I
that?
think what they're interpreting it as a little bit is that they run the ball 50 times a game, and they're a little bit like genuflecting on 2 or 3 missed blocks a game, where I'm going to go, no, like your franchise left tackle probably is going to miss a block, and it's one of these, like you're being too critical.
So he has more chances to put out
exactly.
a bad
That's
rep.
what I would think you're going to look at. I would go, if we put him up with high-end blocking and like being expected to, hey, we're kind of running a play behind you, I don't think anybody would even compare to him in this draft in that area. Like I said, you see him dominate big defensive ends in the Big Ten. You see him collapse size of the line of scrimmage. And the other thing is I see it's just a real wanting to do it, right? That's the big thing. So, yeah, I think they're taking a liberty there of maybe like, they had what's-his-face at quarterback, and they only threw like 8 times a game, and they ran it 52 times in a row, right?
Yeah.
And he missed 5 blocks during the game.
Right.
Okay.
These 5 look bad, but they ran it so many times, you're going to have a bad one.
You're going to have
a
few. Like the left guard did too, the left tackle did too, the center did too. Like it's not going to be perfect that way. I would think that's what they're looking at, because I was blown away by the blocking. That was my biggest thing, as I told you, like right away, that was the thing at the end I wrote, where he's like a really good run blocker. He's by far the most impressive guy of the group. Strong hands, strong arms, wins the wrestling matches at the line of scrimmage, right? Those stalemates where it's like, oh, nobody won on the initial blow. But then he kind of wrestles his guy into the position he wants, and he ends up winning it. So, yeah, I'm a little surprised by actually that comments there. And I think that's what, a lot of teams in the NFL are going to see him and look at him and go, ooh, that's where he's a little different than the rest of the group.
And just if you're ranking your tight ends on how good of a basketball player they are and if they can dunk, he was first-team All-Idaho in high school as a basketball player. So that will calm your nerves if you're worried about that.
I had no doubt he was. When you moved like that, I had no idea. I had no doubt he was a good athlete, and especially in basketball. I mean, Idaho competition. We'll see about that.
I don't want to say anything bad. I mean, they probably had some NCAA tournament teams out of Idaho sometimes.
But he's like, he's sudden, right? He's got that little twitchiness that I talked about even with Tyler Warren, where he can just lean you and come out of a break really quick, right? You can line him up one-on-one at wide receiver, and he will win no matter what, no matter who covers him. Like, I have no doubt about that. If it's a fast corner who's faster than him, he's just going to big body him and move out of the way. Linebackers, he's going to be too quick and run too good of routes for them to cover him. Safeties, it's the same thing. I just don't think they're going to be big enough to cover him when it's all said and done. He's fearless over the middle in traffic, and like I said, when he gets the ball in his hand, he's looking to do damage, right? For 6'6", 245, 248, the route running is impressive, incredible catch radius, really good run blocker, the complete package. I wrote, I would guess he runs 4.65-ish. Only negative is I wish he would try to run tacklers over more. Best blocking tight end in the draft.
Dang.
That's what I wrote.
Interesting.
Right.
So if other teams see it as you see it, I would guess your range of 10 to 20, 25 is probably pretty accurate, right? Because people like his receiving.
Yes.
And if they believe in his blocking, that's mid-first round
I have no
talent.
doubt they're going to see what I saw in the blocking. I will be shocked and
And he did play injured.
He did. He played injured.
He told
it's
you.
Michigan. It's Jim Harbaugh. You usually can't even play tight end unless you can block if you're Jim Harbaugh. That should be your first context clue.
This year, he injured his AC joint week 3, he told you. Played the rest of the season, but it kept swelling up.
Yep.
Got surgery January 29th. No pain now. Rehab's going great. And so
Yeah.
he did even show the physicality when he was banged up and that shoulder was feeling
Tough
not
as
great.
hell. Complete player. Michigan type of guy, as you would
There we
expect.
go.
No
There
doubt
we
about
go.
that. Just what you wanted to hear.
Leaders and best is what we say for a guy who didn't even go there but has been rooting for them his whole life. We're going to take a break. When we come back, the other tight end prospects, you're going to do a little bit of a breakdown on where they're being projected to be drafted. And if you think they're going to be taken before that or after that, a little game we like to call Before or After. We'll play it next. Swiss Jeff is chiming in. This is from Instagram.
See, he wrote yo.
We know your language. That's how you read it. Like if you don't start with yo, we delete it instantly. Yo, Sims, my man. After listening to today's wide receiver pod, I've been having a strong urge to message you and get over never receiving an answer in the past. We got a lot of messages here.
I'm sorry,
Swiss Jeff. I've been hooked on your insights since Sims and Lefko episode 15. I don't think I've missed a pod of either Sims and Lefko, Unbuttoned, or PFT with you since. Your insights and analogy have shaped my life. You're like a brother I never got to meet from countless hours listening to your takes in my car, sales days in 2015, moving to another city during your first Unbuttoned days with Paulie B, helping me through the grind, getting my Swiss NFL boys hooked on your takes, killing my fantasy leagues thanks to you, inspiring me to, after last season's test runs, finally starting the first NFL pod in Swiss German.
Wow.
Thank you, homie. If you ever come to Switzerland, I assume is what that means.
Yes, right.
Please let me know.
It's slang.
Best, Jeff.
Damn, I will. I promise you. If I end up in Switzerland, I'm going to let you know, Jeff. Certainly. I'm honored. There was a lot of nice things you said right there, and hey, listen, maybe I'll come on the pod one day. I don't know. I can't speak Swiss German. I don't. But since he listens to this, he must know English pretty well. Maybe he'll have to translate for me
Better
or something.
than us, maybe. Jeff says that his Swiss NFL podcast will be called the 4-Quarter Podcast.
Okay.
For any of our European followers out there, if you speak Swiss German, which is any of the dialects spoken in the German-speaking part of Switzerland.
Yeah, okay. So it's a beautiful part of the world. Everybody always tells me that northern Italy, Switzerland area, right? My wife had been there when she was younger before we were married. Everybody always says it's beautiful. I've yet to be to that part of the world. We got to do a tour.
You and Mike and me. Yeah. I'll go too.
Yeah, you'll go?
Because you've got a lot of, I'll tag along, right? All around Switzerland and Germany and England.
I would love to. One
of these days we'll bring the families. Pete'll go too. It'll be like
Appreciate
a month-long
Jeff.
tour.
You're the man.
All right, so now hopefully you like this, Jeff. Your tight ends and your second, third, and fourth round tight ends. Because we got 2 in the first round and then a little bit of a drop-off. We'll see how much you saw with these guys. You didn't look at all of the tight ends, but you've looked at these guys. We got 4 of them here.
Yeah, this is one where I just wanted to get a feel for all the ones that are the top names. I'm going to dig into the other half or the other part of the group.
Don't feel like you need to.
Well, but I will, because you know how that goes. Well, there's always going to be like, I'm going to be sitting there in the third round, and there'd be like 2 guys where it'd be like, man, I watched these 7, and this guy ended in here. How did that happen? So,
totally.
But that'll be at a later to-do date.
So we'll do this by playing a game we like to call Before or After. Yeah. So we'll take their projected round, and we'll say whether you think they're going to go before that.
What if I think it's the same?
You can't. You can't. You cannot do that. You go, I can already see now, I think that's about right. And I guess, Pete, this is pretty broad. So I wonder if you can go in here and make like mid-second round pick or late second round. Okay. All right. We'll make it a little easier I don't want him to hedge. We don't want to give him any opportunity to hedge here.
Please don't make it any easier on me.
So let's start with Mason Taylor, who is a projected round 2 pick right now. Pete will get more specific here in a second, but 6'5", 250, 20 years old. His father is Jason Taylor, so he's got the heritage here.
Yep.
So what'd you think of the LSU tight end?
I really liked him. I did. I mean, again, another guy where I'd go, hey, the blocking, it could be a little bit better, but there are plays where you see him be physical and come off the ball and do that. I'm not having any concerns about it, right? He can do it. He can do it, and it's going to be up to him to what kind of level blocker he wants to be, but the strength is there, the athleticism's there, all of that. Love his body. I do. I wish he was a little bit more muscular, but like a Colston Loveland, it's an easy 251. I mean, easy. Like one of those where you're like, really, are you 251? You're that big? It doesn't really look like you're that big, but it's a big frame. It's square shoulders. I mean, of course, he takes after his dad in that department. Very fluid, natural athlete, right? It's not clunky. Yeah, and you can see there. I mean, there's his dad. His dad's a specimen.
Dang.
And he's kind of making his dad not look like a specimen
right?
by standing next to him.
Wow.
Yes. It's pretty damn good that way. I think this is still a young kid in a lot of ways. Like, he's still filling out and growing up in front of our eyes, right? And I'm not trying to say that and be, like, disrespectful in any ways. A nice young man, but I'm just saying physically, I think he's still honestly, like, probably maturing to
I
a
don't think
degree.
anyone thought that was disrespectful until you
Until I
qualified
said
at that, and they were like,
well,
what did you actually mean?
I don't want to ever make any young man be like, hey, this kid, that kid, he looks like, you know what I mean? I'm trying to not be that way.
Oh, okay, I get it. Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
he's a young adult.
He's a young adult, exactly right, who's got some room to grow and thicken out still. But, yeah, I mean, not clunky at all, right? A lot of the times you see tight ends just like, oh, and they got to run, and it's like arms are flaring everywhere. The legs, you could tell they're like, it's maximum effort to get the locomotive going that way. No, he's got good acceleration, got good top-end speed, right? Feet are really good to kind of weave through traffic, get off the line of scrimmage. I thought his hips as a route runner were better than somebody like Tyler Warren. He does have a little of that looseness in his hips to make sharp breaks and come out of breaks and separate that upper and lower body to kind of fool a defender that way. So he's good at that, right? So route running, great. I wasn't expecting him to be as good an athlete as he was. He was kind of surprised to me that way. And the way he adjusted the ball, I was impressed with that, right? Good technique in the blocking like I talked about, and shows that he is willing to be physical, right? Blocking with the ball, blocking or with the ball in his hand, he is physical. Not a killer like Loveland, like I wrote about all the time. Loveland was a little bit more mean and nasty, but like, and he will miss some blocks at times and overall, but I didn't have a problem with it, right? I know it was not perfect. Catches the ball over the middle, no fear of people or in traffic or anything like that. Like I said, the route running is impressive. Another guy where can kind of weave through traffic, right, at full speed. He gets going. Watch out. He chews up some ground. And, you know, you're a smaller DB. The way he runs and aggressive, I'm like, yeah, have fun jumping in front of that, right? And he ain't afraid to, like, kind of lower the boom that way, right? So from all that standpoint there, yeah, I really thought he was a good player. He was one of the pleasant surprises I've watched so far because I had heard his name but didn't know how good he was. And I guess there was a part of me that thought, well, maybe it's just because he's LSU and he's Jason Taylor's son. He's getting a little more hype. But, man, as soon as I turned it on, I was like, oh, this kid's a player.
Almost the opposite, maybe. Yeah, just 20 years old, so still room to grow. As you disrespectfully called him a kid, you know, he still has a ways to go. So he is a projected late second-round pick right now, according to the mock drafts. Do you think he will go before that or after that?
I'm going to say before that.
Okay.
I'm going to say before that. I wrote down 30 to 45. I probably should have made it maybe, yeah.
That seems about right.
I think that's about where I feel like it'll be, right? Like I said, you know, good at breaking down and lowering his hips to put his foot in the ground and burst out of routes. I thought with Loveland, ran some of the most detailed, intricate routes as far as, like, again, running the shallow cross, putting your foot in the ground, coming back the other way, right? Where, like I said, usually with bigger type of guys, that's not an easy change of direction, movement, transition, whatever you want to say it. He can kind of do it at a receiver type level where you go, wow. I mean, to get in and out of that break the way he did that seamlessly and accelerate out of it, I thought was really impressive, right? Like, he was better at stuff like that than Tyler Warren.
Interesting.
They didn't ask Tyler Warren to do stuff like that a whole lot. And like I said, Tyler Warren just kind of does it with his own natural ability. But yeah, I really like to snatch it, can snatch the ball right out of the air. He gets upfield in a hurry. I like that. Very natural with the releases that I talked about off the ball, right? This is a natural every down tight end. And like I said, 30 to 45. And I think he runs like 4.63. That's kind of what I wrote down as a speed.
So he caught a pass in each of his final 28 games at LSU. So Brian Kelly and company, he did not disappear. He was a big part of the offense for basically the last 2 seasons. Yep. So there is a non-zero chance, from what I'm hearing from you, that there could be 3 first-rounders or 3 tight ends in the first round. Non-zero. Not likely. I'm not saying it's likely, but there's maybe like a 5% chance that if a team falls in love with Mason Taylor, maybe he goes in the first round.
I don't think it's crazy. That size, the way he runs, right? I think that he will be off the board before the end of the second. But, yeah, when I write down 30 to 45, I look at it and go, no, I don't think it's crazy that some team at the end of the first round or something like that, if they needed a tight end, they would do that. I don't know if we have a tight team that fits that mold actually there, but I'm writing it as in a general thing without looking at a board, right? That's just all you're writing, just for
I'm not saying
a
it's
gauge.
likely. I'm just saying there's now a chance.
I hear
that
you.
there could
I'm
be
with
3
you.
there.
No, I'm with you. I wouldn't have wrote it if I didn't believe it.
All right, how about Elijah Arroyo?
Yep.
Out of Miami, another 6'5", 250 guy, 21 years old, 4 years at Miami. Last season, he had 7 touchdowns in 13 games, so was a big-time threat in the red zone. Missed some time with the injury his first 3 years, only 11 receptions in 23 games. So this was his big year.
Yes, it was.
Put a lot on tape, and on that tape, you saw...
I saw some really good.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be disrespectful.
No, and I saw a lot of really good, right? Good-looking tight end, bigger than I thought watching on TV over the last year, right? Big square-looking body, easy size, not rocked up. I wish he was a little thicker. I wish legs were a little bit better, and the body was a little bit more put together, okay? Not quite the same look as a Loveland or a Tyler Warren, that's for sure. As a runner, he is big and clunky. He is the guy a little bit where, like I just tried to say that Mason Taylor wasn't. When he comes off the ball, it looks like he's working hard. He's working hard to get it going, right? So I don't love that aspect of it. It's not smooth getting off the ball. Acceleration or get off looks like work. Arms are everywhere, works hard to get it all going. Once he opens up, he's pretty smooth and a long strider. He's got pretty good loose hips for route running and weaving through traffic as a ball carrier, right? He's not as dangerous as as fast as some of the other guys with the ball in his hands weaving through traffic. He's not in the same, to me, classification of course, Tyler Warren or Loveland or Mason Taylor in that department. I just don't think he's as natural of a fluid of an athlete altogether. Now, with his route running, right, he can, like I said, with the loose hips, be pretty good as far as kind of going like this and then coming real quick out the other way and being smooth in that department. I do like that, right? And he can deceive you a little bit, and that's how he gets open as far as his ability to look like he's going one way at the top of a break and then coming out another way. That's one of the ways he gets open. I thought it was pretty impressive. A blocker, he's willing. I wrote he's not a wimp, but he's not a killer, right? You know, he either makes a good initial blow or doesn't finish the job, or he just leans on people and stops moving feet altogether. He just needs to focus on it a little bit more. But again, I'm not concerned about it. I'm not like, oh, man, he's not going to block anybody. He can't do that, right?
Just didn't consistently do it.
Right. Catch the ball over the middle, not afraid of that contact. When he opens up, he can go. But his start is probably the reason he didn't run a 40. That's what I wrote. Has good feet, knows how to lean defenders and get open and all that. He's pretty good in and out of breaks like I talked about, right? Good route runner, more physical and edgy than I gave him credit for early on in the blocking, right? I had to kind of make an amendment, which I always do. And then after the catch, he's faster than you think, even though it kind of looks ugly and clunky. He does, like, people got to work to catch him, right? You know, he's physical as a runner there. He will run people over, has very good natural hands, have seen him snatch it, you know, and then has room to grow as a player. Wish he broke more tackles, and then I wrote 45 to 65.
Interesting. Okay,
right?
So he was getting a little late first-round buzz with some of the key plays. We had some big plays with Cam Ward at Miami, part of their huge year. That's tempered down a bit. Right now he's projected a late round 2 pick, just like our previous guy, and Mason Taylor.
I would say Mason Taylor goes before him.
Okay.
I would say, even with this and getting a feel for more of the draft as I continue to crack through players, that I was probably a little too nice to him with 45 to 65. Ooh. That's what I would say. Not too far off, right? Okay. Like, if I had to write it over and just what I read again there, I would write like 50 to 70 or 55 to 75. Again, maybe end of the second round, but I think realistically it's probably going to be like the top of the third round.
So you're going to say after.
I'm going to say after
for Elijah Arroyo.
I think that's what I would say. If you made me bet, put money on it, I'm going to say it's early third round, somewhere close to the mid-third round where he goes off the board.
So he was a big-time player at a big-time school. You saw him on TV quite a bit. Not all these guys, including Harold Fannin Jr., the tight end from Bowling Green, 6'3", 240, 20 years old, so still a young kid, not to be disrespectful. First team All-Ohio as a DB in high school, senior year. Had 106 tackles, couple interceptions, 6 forced fumbles.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
200-pound guy playing DB in high school?
Give me the before or after. Let's just hit it right now. Let's hit it right off the top. So we'll say it. Yeah, let's just get right into it.
Projected early round 3 pick.
Before.
Oh, you like him.
Before. This dude's going before, right? If you like Isaiah Likely in the NFL, right? If you like Brock Bowers, the pass catching could be your slot receiver type 10, then Harold Fannin Jr. is your guy.
So he had a monster season this past year production-wise.
Yes, he did.
First tight end in FBS history to lead the nation in both receiving and receiving yards. He had 117 receptions, 1,555 receiving yards.
There's, context clues there.
He's
you got to
playing in
be
the MAC.
pretty good to be that big for a team. Bowling Green wasn't horrible, right? I mean, they had Texas A&M on the ropes early on in the year where they formulate the whole offense around him and the passing game, basically. That tells you a little something, right? I know this isn't Alabama or Texas or Ohio State, but even for a school like Bowling Green, to tell you that they basically formulated their passing offense around their tight end, I think does say something. You don't see that everywhere, right? I think that tells you what special of a player he is, especially in the pass game, right? A little smaller, the more athletic-looking type of tight end, right? Decent-looking body, has good overall muscle tone. The legs are a little thin, right? He's almost knock-kneed looking. If you saw him standing there or whatever, it looks like it's a little awkward there. He runs weird. Have you seen him run yet? Wait till you watch him run. It's like he doesn't pick his knees up a whole lot. It's almost like he doesn't bend his legs a whole lot. It's very odd. I'd like to stand up and show it, but it is kind of one of the first things you notice.
So PFF says movements can look a bit lumbering. Out-toed stance affect this, as you would say,
duck-toed. And duck-toed, right.
Knock-knee, duck-toed.
Right. Yes, so that and then with the movements, this is where it can look a little weird, but it ain't weird. It's good. It just looks odd. It's like his legs, his knee drive doesn't get up, and like his feet stay close to the ground, okay? So it is odd that way. But there's no denying the results. He moves awesome. He runs awesome, right? I mean, he's fast. He can break 50 and 60-yard touchdown runs. He does it against Texas A&M. He does it against everybody, right? So there's that aspect. He does have incredible quickness. He's definitely one of the twitchiest tight ends out there. In fact, he is the twitchiest, right? He can really explode out of breaks. Some of those intricate routes that I talked about with Mason Taylor or Colston Loveland, right? He can really do that stuff. This is, again, we're getting into a Brock Bowers-ish real receiving threat at the tight end position where I think you're going to have him more traditionally standing up than hand on the ground, letting him block and do that.
4.71 40 at the combine. I don't know if you mentioned that or not.
I did not, and I'm glad you did. 1.56 though is pretty impressive for 241.
Oh, we have a little bit of this running here if you're watching on YouTube or Peacock.
But
this is the Senior Bowl.
And it doesn't. Maybe this doesn't quite do it justice. The dude is twitchy and explosive, though. That's the thing you continue to watch. It's kind of wide receiver twitch and explosion. As you can kind of see right there. Even the shake. Now, with the shorts on, it doesn't do it justice quite with how his running style is. I'll show you some plays on film after, right? Here's a play of him run blocking. Run blocking is not why you're drafting him. He will do it. He'll get in the way, but not much. But stuff like that right there, that's pretty damn good. As quickly as he gets in and out of that break and as quickly as he can do it, again, for a 240-plus man that plays tight end, I'm just telling you, you're not going to find many tight ends that can move that quickly and that explosively in that short area. That's pretty damn good. Right? His blocking is just okay. Like I said, he just gets in the way. right? Can really get in and out of the breaks. He can really stick his foot in the ground, like incredibly well. Like allows him to run incredibly sharp breaks in his route running, can make people miss in the open field. I mean, he makes people miss. His hands are phenomenal. He snatches out of the air like a Warren or a Loveland. And then like Warren and Loveland, he's trying to make big plays after the catch every time. Total pass catching tight end, plays faster than 4.71. I told you the Isaiah Likely stuff. His yak ability is only second to Tyler Warren in this draft. After the catch, only Tyler Warren is better than him. He's fearless over the middle with the ball in his hands, good releases, good feel overall for everything. He could be a big slot receiver. I really like him a lot.
Big
40
slot.
to 60 is what I wrote.
Interesting. So a big slot. So he could be the negative, like a tweener. You don't quite know what to do with him, right?
Exactly.
He's a big slot,
right?
Not quite as fast
right.
as those other slots out there. Big, so that's good. Not going to block. So
in the perfect world,
he's a little bit of a tweener.
In this perfect world, you would want him just like maybe it really the other tight ends we just talked about. Oh, there's Brock Bowers. Oh, they have Michael Mayer to be the more of the I'm going to put my hand down and smash you in a run block and do all that.
Right.
And then if you're at the end of the line of scrimmage, well, damn, we do have to respect that with you next to the other tight end because, damn, it is two big guys, and you're not going to just be like totally overpowered by a DN. So we do have to respect the run game when you're there. But, damn, now he's split out, and, gosh, we had the run defense in, and now he's out there. And, damn, he is a mismatch for our other linebacker out there or our big safety we put in, right? Yeah. So that's where you're going to want – or like with Isaiah Likely, he's that to Mark Andrews, right? Mark Andrews is the guy that we can kind of do that, right? He's not the best run blocker in the world, but he's a little bit more known for that than Isaiah Likely. But it's about the mismatches, right? That's the big thing. And I think a team that maybe already has the blocking tight end, they're going to go, damn, this will be another great wrinkle to our offense to have him in. Even if it's second and long, okay, he plays traditional tight end in 11 personnel, right? 1 tight end, 3 receivers. Or, hey, it's first and 10. We got run blocking tight end in there with him, and we can run the ball and be a force, but we could also maybe just split them out and spread out all of a sudden and catch a defense by surprise and have some mismatches and some issues they have to deal with. And I think that's going to be the beauty of Fannin Jr.
Like he's not necessarily a plug and play, put him out there. You don't have to worry about it. You got to have a plan around him. You got to have some support pieces around him.
He's a niche guy.
Which no head coach wants all that work. That seems like way too much trouble.
Right.
So that's why he's slipping in drafts.
But like, you know, Trey McBride wasn't too dissimilar from this a few years ago. Same kind of thing where you're going, the blocking's okay. He gets in the way. He does that. I think he could probably be a little bit better. But damn, in the tight end game, when he runs a crossing route, when he does this, it's damn good in the pass game, right? And that's where this guy is a special player that way.
I like it. Hugely productive. No tight end, no receiver was more productive than him last year in college football. One more to talk about from your alma mater in Texas, Gunnar Helm, 6'5", 240. Just a 3-star recruit out of high school, still found his way to Texas and made something of himself, but then ran a 4.840 at the combine.
Well, a little unfair.
On a sprained ankle.
Right. A little unfair, okay. I mean, with him in general, first off, he shouldn't have done it with the sprained ankle. He should have just quit right there.
He put that on. Now it's on the internet, and you can't erase a 4.840.
No, you can't. It's there forever. It is. And there are certain guys like, hey, just a quick change here right as we're talking about it. Who's the receiver? Braxton Berry? Not the guy in Miami. The little receiver that they had.
Who?
The University of Miami. The University of Miami, Cam Ward's quarter. Restrepo, exactly. Xavier Restrepo.
Yeah.
He ran a 4.8 at his 40 the other day.
Yeah.
Who's advising him? Like,
don't run.
Don't run. That did nothing. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, somebody's got to get in the ear of these guys. Like, if you know you can't run a good time, let's not just go run one to go, hey, here's another reason you could shit on my player. Like, what? Yeah. Like, that just, I don't understand that. Okay?
Maybe one of the scouts was like, you're not going to break a 5. And he's like, I'll show you.
4.84.
Yeah.
I ran slower than Chris Sims. And you're going to want me to get open against a receiver?
Yeah.
Right? So, I know, that's not fair. But I just wanted to, my point was, 4.8
on a sprained ankle ain't that bad.
Ain't that bad. And maybe you just shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Helm, as he told us, right? He's got a good body, right? I wish he would get a little more rocked up overall in all areas. But again, like the other guys, it's easy, natural, big, which I like. And it's fluid. and loose and bendable and all of that. So I like all of that. His blocking is probably the worst out of everybody we've talked about so far, okay? Probably everybody. But or it's maybe, Fannin is in that department a little bit just because he's a smaller guy. But Gunnar Helm in this year, too, he was used so much in that pass game element, and they did split him in the slot and have him stand up and do stuff like that. He's got great feet. He runs faster than 4.8. He can really cut on a dime. And with the ball in his hands, he can make people miss and weave and even shuffle and break down and make a pretty sharp cut that way. I wish he'd run over people more and play a little more physical that way. But this is a guy here where I think with a good passing offense, they're going to like his ability to run routes and get open, right? Read coverages, do all of that. It might not be some of the sexiest highlight plays, but I think this is a guy that's going to be a good, dependable tight end. When I heard he was visiting the Denver Broncos and Sean Payton, I was like, I can see that. He blocks okay. Sean will make him a little tougher. But Sean sees something and go, wait, this guy, he can run some routes. I can get him open with certain route combinations and things like that. That's where he'll be special. And if he does catch the ball and he's on the run and doing like that, because he's not going to like Colston Loveland or Tyler Warren or even Fannin could run a curl route, be dead stop, and then get upfield, make a move, and you'd go, damn, that's pretty good. They got 10 extra yards out of that play. That was impressive. That's not his game necessarily, totally. He's, though, he catches a crossing route on the move, right? He can make a sharp cut and cut into a hole, and when he's opened up, he moves pretty well to where you go, oh, damn, he split those two defenders, or he got in the end zone there, and I didn't think he'd make it, right? So there's something there for him with Gunnar Helm. I'll be interested to see where he goes totally in the draft here. Like I said, the blocking needs some work, but I think the pass catching has some real value to it.
Well, good for him. The purposes of this game, they're a little down on him, so it might actually make it easier for him to exceed expectations. Projected early round 4 pick in mock drafts. Does he go before or after that?
I think that's about right.
I knew you were going to say that. Well, we don't allow that on this game.
That's about right. I wrote 90 to 110. Right, so that's end of third, fourth round.
So I think before for you. I think you're before, but now I can tell you're not sold on
but,
that.
I'm not totally against it. I can stay with that. I'm not backing down from that. I think with as big as he is, the way he moves, and what you get to see on film, and he got to play in an offense that really was kind of pro style. I got to do some of that type of stuff that will make teams feel comfortable. I think his ability in the pass game, it's late third. It's probably early fourth when I really want to say it. Yes.
And the thing is, once you get down to that range, it just seems like you get down to that range, you could go third, fifth, sixth, and there's a range of outcomes.
Could,
it becomes
depending
team
how
needs
things went in front of you, right? And who's exactly right? You can get screwed. And I would live that life. I was picked 96 in the NFL draft, right? I was sitting there going, wait,
what's happening?
I thought I might go in the first round. Then I was like, damn, I know I'm not going in the second round here now. And then it was like, hey, somebody picked me in the third. And I was really succumbed to going like, oh, damn, I guess I'm going to go tomorrow. The third round's about to be over. I'm just going to have to go to bed, and we'll see who picks me tomorrow in the fourth or fifth or whatever. So, once you start to get into that area, you don't know what the hell's going to happen.
What was your dad saying to you at that point?
Well, I don't even know. I left the room, and I wanted to be alone. I was mad. I sent my friends home, everything. I didn't want anything to deal with it. I thought maybe the Raiders, who had 2 picks at the end of the first round, might take me, right? Thought there was a chance maybe the Ravens would take me, right? But then that didn't happen. The Ravens went with Kyle Bowler. The Raiders went with 2 other guys on defense, and that's where I knew. I was like, uh-oh. Well, who's going to take me now? And it took a little while for me to come off the board.
All right, little bonus insight into draft day in the Sims household there. All right, so odds to draft the tight end with their first pick. And so this is the teams with their first pick in the draft. DraftKings has this for us. The Colts have pick number 14. They're the favorite to take a tight end with their first pick right now, plus 130. The Jets also there, though, with their number 7 overall pick. That's the spot for Tyler Warren, I guess, with the Jets at 7. Chargers at 22. Jim Harbaugh saying the run for Colston Loveland stops here, plus 300. Saints also, though, top 10 at 9. So a couple in the top 10. See some mid-first round. Bears at 10 as well.
Interesting, I know.
There's a lot of information to take in on this.
Well, I'll say this. I think all the top 4 teams on this list are certainly in the tight end conversation. I don't think the Bears are going to be at number 10, not with Cole Kmet. I mean, Cole Kmet's one of the better tight ends in football. I'd be shocked to see them go that route. That would surprise me. Like, the Colts, I definitely can see them going tight end. I guess in my heart of hearts, don't think that Tyler Warren will be there at 14 anymore.
And would they go with Colston Loveland at 14?
Maybe they will. If they decide that is their number one need on their football team, they do like to run the football. We know that with Shane Steichen, that O-line, that damn running back they got. So maybe they will put Colston Loveland there. The Jets are the one that is interesting, too, because I see Tyler Warren to the Jets at times in mock drafts and all that, and I understand, and that makes sense. And I can certainly see the Saints doing it at number 9. That would be another one. I could see that. I don't think that's crazy for where they are as a football team. And a guy that, Kellen Moore, he's certainly going to want a tight end to bolster his offense, to go along with some pretty damn good receivers they got there. I wouldn't be shocked. So I don't know if they want me to make a pick here or not. But I certainly think Tyler Warren's going to be the first guy off the board. That's for sure. I think so.
Yeah. Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news here. DraftKings Sportsbook, the number 1 sportsbook for live betting, and new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets instantly.
Just download the app and use the promo code UNBUTTONED when you sign up.
DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. So to the surprise of no one, we've spent a little more time talking about these tight ends, which is good.
Shocker.
You've done the work. We like talking about them. We've given you some insight here. So with whatever time we have, we'll talk a little reaction to the wide receiver rankings
when
we come back.
Awesome.
We have several questions from the homies on Chris's top 5, the players who made it, the players who didn't make it. In case you missed it, here it is. Travis Hunter, Kyle Williams, your top 2. T-Mac from Arizona at 3. Jalen Noel from Iowa State, 4 for you. And Trey Harris, the big play upside guy in his own tier number 3.
And a lot of other guys that I really liked, right? I just didn't think they were in that tier with those guys right there.
So we'll get to maybe a couple of those guys.
Yeah.
We have a lot of reactions from the homies. Cool. I was like, I don't think we have time to get through all these. And Chris goes, no, we can do it. I'm going to go rapid fire. So he wants to leave out no homie. So we'll start with questions about Travis Hunter, your number 1 guy. This is Matt Hassan 4. If Travis Hunter is just a wide receiver, like you said, do you think he's really worth a top 5 pick?
Well, I don't think he'll be just a wide receiver. I don't. I think DB will come a part of this, right? And I would say that the reason he's a top 5 pick is everything that he does on the football field. He's phenomenal, but he's clearly the best receiver in this draft, right? I think that's why, too. That adds to the value a little bit more, where it's like if you need a receiver and you need one in the top 10 or the top 5, like we got to take him right now because there's a little bit of a separation between everybody else, right? And I think that's the reason that maybe adds a little more value to him altogether. And hey, I'm just saying – what I was trying to say is he's going to play some DB, but I was saying if you just evaluated the DB, it's not a top 10 pick. If you just evaluate the receiver, you go, that's a top 10 pick. And that's where I think, he'll make a lot of his money there.
And if you evaluate receiver with a little bit of corner, sprinkled
exactly.
in there,
that adds more value. And maybe returns punts now. And all of a sudden you go, whoa, okay, we got something shaking here.
Cam Ventura, 617. Do you see any Justin Jefferson in Travis Hunter's game? Both guys have a rare ability to give the quarterback great indicators of where they will be while still deceiving corners by accelerating and decelerating at just the right time.
I love this question, and that's why I wanted to keep it, because I think he's spot on in that way. Right? When you hear me talk about body language, indicators like Cam Ventura is talking about there, they're really important. Right? The best receivers I had connections with were because I could read the body language and go, he's about to do this now. And I could throw it a split second maybe before I would to another receiver where I'd go, he's a square robot and every move looks the same. So I never have any idea when he's about to break or do something, right? And that's where, this kid's very impressive that way. Like I talked about, just the ability to be like, oh, he's this way, and then it's real aggressive the other way. There's just little indications in all his routes that are very friendly, right? And if you know, wait, hey, he's running an in cut. oh, I see him working the guy out a little bit and leaning on that. I know he's about to come back in, and I could see it in his body about to do that. And, yeah, that's where he has definitely got a special knack.
NMFCB.
Yeah.
Do you feel Hunter going to New England at 4 will be the best thing for him? They need a standout wide receiver desperately, and if the coaches decide to allow him to line up at DB, who better to learn from than Mike Vrabel and Terrell Williams? I think it will be a great fit.
He would fit there for sure. Here's 2 caveats I'll throw into it. Diggs is a great route runner. He's going to be doing a lot of the route running stuff. They certainly could use him, okay? But I guess I don't see Travis Hunter as a New England type of move. I don't. Not with Vrabel and them there. Right? I feel like at pick 4, and I haven't watched the O-lineman yet, but I certainly know O-line is a need for them up there. And what I've said all day is I think you can get a really good receiver probably at the top of the 2nd round to help out your football team. As far as the DB is concerned, they already have one of the best secondaries in football. I'd already put it up there in the top group of the league. So I don't think they need Travis Hunter to make them any better as far as a DB is concerned, right? They signed Stefon Diggs, who's a route runner, right, in theory, and that's how I think they would use Travis Hunter in a lot of ways too. I don't feel like that would be their type of move, but he certainly would work. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he's going to work anywhere. And a place like Josh McDaniels, I think, could even get more out of him because Josh McDaniels has so many of those cool underneath routes that are a part of his offense, like an Edelman or a Wes Welker. And not only do I think he can run by you for go routes, but like I told you on Monday, he is an unbelievable route runner. He's the best route runner in the draft, and he can do all that type of stuff too.
You also like Kyle Williams, maybe more than anyone else out there. You had him as your number 2 wide receiver out of Washington State. Flamenco Grave says, would you agree Kyle Williams could go to Buffalo as a true Z wide receiver for them, giving flexibility to Keon Coleman to either play big slot or the boundary if needed?
Yes. He can do all that type of stuff, and I think, Z is where he's perfect.
And Z is typically...
Z's off the ball. He motions a little bit more, right? Probably has a more expansive route tree. The X is the guy, Keon Coleman. Hey, I'm big. Throw me a back shoulder. Throw me a go route. I'll work this guy, and you could throw me a slant, and I'll separate, or I'm big, and he can't get around me, and I'll still catch it, right? That's what that is. This guy's the, hey, I'm in motion. Give me a reverse. Hey, I'm in motion. Set hut. Oh, I went deep. Hey, I'm in motion. Set hut. Oh, I'm just going a shallow cross across the really fast, and nobody can stay with me. He'd be the perfect Z. That's what he is. That's exactly what he is.
Have we heard any pushback on Kyle Williams out there, Pete? Was there anyone with throwing hate at Sims? Anyone at any in a website, perhaps an awful announcing, throw out a here's Chris Sims hot take?
But I didn't look. I stayed away from things a little bit.
Yeah, surprise, but no hate. Surprise, but no hate, which is we're fine with.
We might
like
have scared
that.
people from hating on us with the way we reacted on the last
That's
podcast.
A good point.
So I don't know.
You did not have Jayden Higgins from Iowa State in the top 5, and you've seen his name pop up on other people's top 5 and early in the draft. Sloppy Joe Namath says, self-scout thyself, Sims. You said, quote, teams tell you sometimes who's the better receiver based on the pecking order and who they go to when they need a big play. Yet you have Jalen Noel as your wide receiver 4 overall, but his ISU teammate Jayden Higgins led them in all receiving stats yearly.
Listen, and those are some good points, and I like you throwing my logic right back in my face about the better pecking order and all that. I get that. Jalen Noel in the NFL is made for the NFL more than a guy like Jayden Higgins, though. The NFL, the passing offenses, they're way more expansive. They do more stuff. There's more formations, right? All of that. Jalen Noel can fit more of those roles than a Jayden Higgins, who I like. Don't get me wrong. I just look at Jayden Higgins. I think he's kind of like the end of the 2nd round, and he's not my cup of tea, as you always know. Again, his 4.47, it's 1.53. I don't think it's as fast as that, right? He's wiry muscle. He looks all like that, right? I like the old Miss Kid's body better because I was in the tall group of guys here. Like you see mostly with this type of receivers, a little too many steps in and out of transition at the top of routes. For his length, he has pretty good acceleration off the line of scrimmage. I do like him in that department, right? Has good get-off. Releases are pretty good. With the ball in his hands, he's not in the same class as Harris from Ole Miss, as I wrote, or as the other top receivers I've seen in the draft so far. Just not as elusive. Doesn't have the gear that a Harris or some of the other top receivers have down the field when the ball's in the air. I wrote, A guy like Harris can make you miss in space or run away or split defenders. This kid doesn't do that, right? He's got good feet, but he's definitely tight in the hips. There's not great wiggle or body language in any of the route running, right? It's a little, again, it's Drake London-ish, but not to that capacity.
Right.
And I don't love that type of guy always, right? But there is the, hey, good feet, pretty good sharp cut. But, like, if he's running a post corner or doing some other things like that that are a little more intricate, no, I don't love his ability to run routes that way. As a ball carrier, he doesn't do anything special, never makes people miss, doesn't ever break a tackle, right? On the outside, he just doesn't run by people enough, right? And he has outside value, but I think he's going to be better in the slot than he will be. He can stick his foot in the ground better than I gave him credit for. I like him. I don't love him. And then I wrote 60 to 80.
I mean, it's likely he was a big, reliable, good college weapon, right? I mean, it's just like
there are mismatches in that league, and listen, there can be mismatches in the NFL. Sure. There's going to be a faction of people in football that probably like him more than me because there's just always a faction of people that are like, I like the big receiver, I like that element, I need that on my team. And if you have maybe 2 or 3 smaller guys, and he catches the right team up in the draft, he might go off the board quicker than we all anticipated.
Speaking of the smaller, shiftier guys, Luther Burden III out of Missouri.
Yeah.
Sauce Saini.
That was a tough one for me, man.
You were lower on him. You did not have him in your top 5.
This is one I'm a little scared I could be wrong on.
I mean, I like him.
Yeah, I know
like
you do.
I
get
play.
it. I like him.
So would you compare Luther Burden to someone like Kadarius Toney coming out? Do you think a team will fall in love with him late first, maybe Washington? Thanks for all you do.
Yes, I think that
he's more physical than Kadarius Toney.
He
right?
is more physical. He probably doesn't change direction quite the way Kadarius Toney is, right? But I think what they're referring to is a little bit of like, not a polished receiver, a little bit more of a weapon, right? A guy that can do some stuff with the ball in his hands, but there's some other areas we got some questions on that we'd like to see a little bit better, right? I think that's what you'll worry about a little bit, at least with me, with Luther Burden. But again, as I told you on Monday and as I say it again right now, he's definitely one of the ones I'm scared I could be wrong on because he's, like we talked about then, it's you get into the NFL, you work on a few things, you get better at it, and you get around offensive coordinators who go more all in on trying to find a ways to get you the ball in the things that you're good at. And like you said on Monday, you get him in this ball in space, he can run for an 80-yard touchdown against elite competition, and that's where I get scared that I might be wrong about him.
Matthew Golden showed the speed in the combine, not necessarily on tape when you were watching it from Texas. Intern Brock says, what did you see, or I guess not see, from Matthew Golden that made him not crack your top 5? Well, as a UT student, hook 'em. I watched him be the only consistent part of our offense all season, and the only thing that worried me about him was his speed, but the time he put up at the combine said it all.
Well, but that just said it all. You just said it all. You didn't think he'd run a 4.29. You watched the whole year. I watched the whole year. I never thought he was going to run 4.29. Guys that run 4.29 usually have a catch more than 54 yards on their resume for the year, right? That's where it's odd. So I really like, and consistent doesn't mean you're a top 25 pick. That's the other thing too. That doesn't. That's what I would argue there. He's a really good football player, okay? Right, there's things, and you know what? Before I even finish this total question, because at Intern Brock and Hookem, you the man, and I watch him too. Let's go to the next one along with it, because it has to do with Isaiah Bond, and I can kind of combine these answers.
I like this. All right? Terrence Lawson says to you, when you watched the Texas receivers, did you only watch the first couple of games of the season on tape and not the end? That might have impacted the evaluation of Golden, as most of the people who love him point to the last few games of the year as his best, and vice versa with Bond.
He's true about that. So let's work this all together. Now, Isaiah Bond, by all due accounts, other things that I received after I put out the receiving rankings. Hey, I like Isaiah Bond. His off the field is horrible. It's bad. So Isaiah Bond's going to definitely have to deal with that type of issue. All right? There's no doubt about it. It's not good. And I don't know what the details are, but I had multiple people in the NFL text me like there's concerns about off the field stuff with Isaiah Bond.
Okay.
So there's that. But getting into the play on the field, when both guys were healthy and both guys were good And I don't know what happened to Isaiah, but he hurt his hamstring, and it looked like he was in the doghouse and never really quite recovered from that, right? But early in the year, when all things were equal, as I told you, there was no question who the most explosive receiver on the team was. There's not. All you got to do is look at the plays. Isaiah Bond was catching reverses and slants and going for 70 and 60-yard touchdowns and breaking people's ankles in space and making them look silly. And the other guy was not doing that, right? And the other guy never did that at any point during the year. That's all I would say. I like Matthew Golden. He does everything good. He plays nowhere near 4.29.
Yeah.
And then what I would challenge everybody a little bit towards the end of the year is just go back and, look at some of the plays. I mean, he's just wide open. I don't sit here and go, oh my gosh, this was an incredible route that he got wide open. There are type of plays where it's like it's zone defense. And Sarkisian called a play that got everybody cleared out, and he kind of just got to run 10 yards and make a right-hand turn, and hey, I'm wide open. And then I catch the ball, and I get to run up the field for another 20 yards, right? So, again, that's where don't just look at stats. There's a lot of people that can do that type of stuff, and I'm not trying to take away from Matthew Golden, but, again, consistent and just being wide open because the play got me wide open doesn't mean you're a top 25 pick.
Yeah.
That's all I'm trying to argue, right? Yeah. But there is untapped potential with this kid. And if he can learn to play with the pedal to the metal, like I talked about a little bit more, and just more aggressive nature off the ball when he catches the ball, he could be special. But you don't see any of that right now. And that's where I get in, and hopefully that answers both of those guys' questions a little bit there.
So here's something interesting. Friend of the show, Sam Monson, tweeted this out, and he goes, there's video of Matthew Golden's 40, so let's see what a video editor says he actually ran. He goes, using these frames, which I think give him some hedge room, i.e. hand is all the way off the ground, and he's well into the start already, we get a 4.37. So they're going what is that film with the JFK file?
Zapruder.
Yeah, we're going Zapruder style.
Well, hey, listen.
So wait, what's going on here? It wasn't really a 4.29. It was a 4.37.
It's a little favorable. I don't know.
How would that even happen?
I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. This is the one year I've watched some guys in the 40. I always watch everybody who ran a 40 before I start to watch the film.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And this is the first year ever where I went, oh, this guy was faster than the guy I just watched. And then I look at the time and go, what? He had a slower time? Like, no way.
You think the timing was screwed up?
And then I would go back and go, there's no way that guy ran 10 yards faster than the guy I just watched. Hold on. Let me go back. And I would sit there and go, man, it doesn't look like he's fast as he is, but I don't know. Either way, I'm not trying to add to the conspiracy theories. The point is,
Xavier Restrepo wishes he would have run that 40 at the combine.
Definitely. The point is, he's a really good player. I just think, again, he's like Emeka Egbuka at Ohio State. It's the results of the team and some stats of that are good stats on a nationally televised game, and people are a little too bought in, at least for my money.
All right, two more guys that you did not talk about, did not have in your rankings, but people are asking about. Jalen Royals from Utah State.
Yep.
Juice for Hage says, any thoughts on Jalen Royals out of Utah State? Really like him as a value pick on day 2.
He's like your Malachi Corley.
Okay.
He's like a Debo. It's a thick, strong guy, right? He's gonna break arm tackles and do all that. He can make people miss a little by breaking your ankles. It's gonna be about speed and separation a little bit more with him, right? He's not like the most explosive in and out of breaks, right? I don't think it's a speed that backs people off necessarily. His 40 time was faster than what it looked like, right, when he played on film. But still a good player here. I think he's more of a weaponish who's going to just need some, work on, maybe he just needs to get a hair faster or lose a few pounds, but just become a little bit more quick, explosive in and out of breaks to separate, because I have no questions he can do some of the physical stuff. The other problem was he did drop some balls.
Okay.
And that was definitely an issue with him that arose more than maybe some of the other guys that we've talked about so far.
Savion Williams, another name you're hearing out there a lot from TCU. Preston Abbott says, hi, Chris. What are your thoughts on Savion Williams? Based on his profile, seems like a guy you would value highly. 6'4", 222.
Exactly.
4'4" in the 40.
Exactly.
1.52, 10-yard split. What gives?
Yes. Now, but it's just you can't play him at receiver all the time. He just can't do that. He's not a very good – he looks like somebody that's learning how to play receiver on the fly. the routes are not good, right? But he's just athletically gifted, so he can get to spots in a hurry. He is Cordero Patterson. I told you this, I think, on Monday because you brought up his name to me. You're like, I like that Savion Williams. And I was like, yeah, I do too. The specimen is cool.
Yeah.
And I think if you could play him as a weapon where, hey, we give him a few routes. You're going to run a go route. You're going to run a slant route every now and then. We're going to give you reverses and speed sweeps. We want you to line up a tailback like 7 or 8 times, 10 times a game. And we're going to give you the ball at tailback. And then we want you to return punts and do all that as you work on getting a better receiver, right? Everybody in the NFL is going to love the athlete and how physical and tough he is and all of that. He's just not ready to be a dependable receiver yet, and that's where we got to go with him.
And it's tough with some of those guys because you're like, oh, man, I could really use this guy, and there's a lot of different ways. And then you get to the season, and you get to the roster crunch, and you have 2D linemen down. You know what I mean? It's like one of those guys where it's just like, yeah, he's really nice to have, but it's just like end of the debate. Do we use a whole roster spot on
Exactly right. It's going to have to be that's where I said I think it'll have to be a team that goes, wait, you'll play some tailback too? You're for sure you'll do that? Because we'll take you. At receiver, we're not taking you in the middle of the fourth. We're not. Mm-hmm. But if you tell us you'll do some of the other stuff, we like it, and then we'll work on you with that receiver stuff. I think that's where he can, increase his value in the league.
All right, did we do it? Did we do the speed round in 15 minutes? Pete, did we make it all the way through?
I think we got probably about 18 minutes.
Okay, that was very good. Well done. We got the homies questions in there. And we got one more thing because we responded to the homies last time, and we attacked them. We victory lapped on all of them, including on Dynasty Grill. It goes every year for Sims. And we said, you're going fishing, and I think some people indicated to us that means bait.
Yeah,
you got bait on the fishing line, click bait.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So then Pete went back at Mr. Grill and said this. We had to bring this one back for the podcast. And so Dynasty Grill said this to us. He goes, yes, absolutely love it. Saltwater, freshwater Sims is the man. That's hilarious. So the Dynasty Grill was all aboard getting dunked on for the time.
Like it.
And now there were some other people that said, I can't believe that you're taking a victory lap off 1 year of production.
Yeah.
To which I would respond in saying, but everyone attacked you on 0 years of production, on your ranking based on what we think is going to happen in the future. And everyone said, without even seeing any of that, with 0 years of production, you're an idiot and you're so wrong. I would throw that back at them with that.
I appreciate that. Let alone, come on. I had people this year, 1 year, Jayden Daniels is already better than Caleb Williams. So what do you mean? People come at me like that all the time. I mean, I understand that. And you're right. Their story's not over. I get that. We try to make these rankings, and it's not about year one. It's about where you think they're going to be when they start to hit the prime of the career, year 3, right? That's when it really is when the rooster comes home to roost. Okay,
the rooster is he's always looking to do that. And eventually, after 3 years, he's like, finally, I'm roosting.
Right. But I hear you there, and we're not trying to take totally clickbait. But we're not trying to totally take a victory lap. But also, yes, we were extensively shit on for putting those two guys over. And they both went to the Pro Bowl, and BTJ got all pro votes, right? So yes, that was time to take a victory lap. Sorry.
I regret nothing from that podcast.
Thank you very much.
You shouldn't either.
Thank you very much, Miss Lippy. All right, everybody. On Monday, we go NFL I'm at the NFL owners meetings, right? I will be there.
On Monday. On Monday?
On Monday. I'm going to be NFL Monday. Yeah, this Monday. Pete doesn't know where the schedule is for NBC Sports, apparently. Okay. So, yes, I will be at the owners meeting, not doing a pod with you.
Okay. What about Wednesday?
Wednesday, I will be back here, baby, and we'll be talking about running backs, which is going to be so fun. It is. Running backs will be awesome. A lot of dudes, a lot of depth, right? And, of course, some top-end guys that I think are damn special. And there's more than just one of them. Let me just tell you that, too. Okay. All right? So check me out Monday. Without Ahmed, he won't be coming to Florida. We're going to figure out how we're going to kind of do that. We got a lot of interviews that are going on that day. We might release some interviews. I might get someone specifically just for the pod. I'm trying to work on a few things.
Okay.
Either way, subscribe, rate, review. You know where to find us, and get at us, especially for the Wednesday, the running back rankings. Going to be a lot of great talk and detail there. I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts. Ahmed, you the man as always. Everybody be good. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the NCAA tournament. I know I will. Sweet 16, all that. Peace out, homies. Clap it up. Thanks for watching Chris Sims Unbuttoned. Hey, just because the season's over, it doesn't mean we're over. We ain't going anywhere. The NFL never dies.
We're staying right here. Hit subscribe. We got every NFL move. We'll react to that. Plus, Chris has got 4,719 draft prospect profiles to do.
Thanks again for watching. Subscribe. You know where to find us. Peace out, homies.